Aloha. Tell you what, this is going to be a final little recap on what we had gone through and then a little bit more information just on the chance that you want to further your own musical education. All this stuff can be taught by another teacher and all this stuff can be Googled. And remember, don't just trust one source, trust a multitude of different sources. It'll help us to get to the same point. So what we're going to talk about right now is just this guy, the circle of fifths. I'm just going to go through the basic explanation on why it helps us as pianists or musicians or just analytical thinkers. C goes to G. That means that G has one sharp. That sharp is now going to be the first of all the sharps, F sharp. It will be carried through when we add additional sharps, meaning each key has some sharps, no sharps, or some flats. What happens is what we do is we start adding these. The circle of fifths makes sense because each one of these is 5 notes. C, D, E, F, G, which is why I used my hand. C, D, E, F, G goes to G. In the spelling of G, we have all the same 7 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. But now instead of them all not being a natural, which is this, means just there isn't a marking. I could put C natural, D natural, E natural. It just takes forever. The 3 different types we have here are the natural, the sharp, and then the flat. So when we go through here, we know that the 7th is always the diminished, that the 1, the 4, and the 5 are always going to be majors in a major scale. And then in a major, we will also have a minor that plays a part. The 2, the 3, the 6. The 7 is a type of minor, but the 7 is a diminished. The reason why, a major is built on a major 1-3-5 or a 1-3-5. When we flatten the median, we get a minor. You'll notice the 4 different types of chords that we worked with or would have worked with would have been the 1-3-5, which is a major, a 1-flat-3-5, which is a minor, a 1-flat-3-flat-5, which is a diminished, my favorite of all of them. And then the one we really didn't talk about, which didn't get much context, is the augmented. That's going to be a 1 natural 3 and then a sharp 5. That's the worst sharp I've ever drawn, ever. Sharp 5. So having these sets of chords, we also have a half diminished, but let's not worry about that right now. And then there's ways to make different chords out of all these. As you can see, if I had a C, E, G in the key of C major with a 1-3-5, if I wanted to make a C6 chord, I would include 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th note. That thusly, put anywhere on the piano or on a guitar or ukulele, would inevitably make that sound. So what we do is we look to see these triads on a staff. When this staff has a specific marking, like if you put 2 staffs together, close them up for measure bars and put a line, it makes a grand staff. We generally have the treble clef and then the bass clef, meaning low notes, and then over here, high notes. We've talked about this with some idea of finding middle C, meaning directly in the middle of an 88 key piano, we find our C, our note, which moves forwards and backwards. It's relative to the key of 440 going to the A minor, meaning the C and the A both have the same note. So in the key of C major, there are no sharps, no flats. However, when we go to G, then subsequently to D, and then A, E, B, F sharp, and then C sharp, same thing happens on the other side. The complete opposite from C, no sharps, no flats, is C sharp, which has 7 sharps. When we go through the process of seeing all these notes, the none in C, C, D, E, F, G, G has 1 sharp, it's F sharp, F, G, A, B, C. When we keep going, that next sharp, C, D, E, F, G. Well, when we go to A has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Thusly, when we spell it A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished. Always flows that way. So subsequently what we do is we just see that G major has 1 sharp, 2 sharps, 3 sharps, 4 sharps, 5 sharps, 6 sharps, and then 7 sharps. We make up little things inside of our heads to make sure that we can remember which order these come in. However, the easiest way, I think, is just to memorize them. You could say F bead. That's how it all, B-E-A-D-G-C, F-bead, you see, or some sort of mechanism. However, when we go this way, it's a circle of fourths. And when we go this way, it's the circle of fifths. It's much easier and much more pleasing for the ear to hear it in fifths because that's what most things are staged after. So we call it the circle fifths. Oh, However, it does function that other way. I can't get too much into this explanation of the circle fifths. Here's why I say go ahead and Google that, because when you Google that, it'll explain to you that this, the treble clef, with a C note, an E note, and a G note on a piano, can also have a lower C note, an E note, and then a G note. When all these are played as stacked chords, they become piano chords. And when they're played in succession on the staff, they become time as meter. So we'd have 1 3 5 1 3 5. At any point, if you put in those accents that we talked about, 1 3 5, it changes the way that these triads feel. That is music theory basis 101. The next thing I want to talk about are just major and minor scales. The idea is when you're playing these things out over the piano, I think that concept of the circle of fifths will actually do a little justice. One of the things we forget to do is try our fingerings the same way. Here's a little idea. On a piano, C, D, E under, we have 5 fingers for the first 5, and then we have 5 fingers for the last 5 of a group of 7. The 8th note is an octave. C1, C2, C3, middle C, C4, C5, C6, C7, C8. When we play that aforementioned 1 3 5 triad and leave out the sus notes, which feel like there's unresolved retention of the note, hear how that fills back? That happens with both these. The 5 has natural tension, and when we see our chords is in the key of C major of having C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, we find ourselves being able to see that mechanism goes from a C to a C sharp as a minor second, C plus 2 minor seconds as a major second. When we do this process, we have a system called C sharp as a minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, augmented fourth, perfect fifth, augmented fifth. We have a 6th, a minor 7th, a major 7th, and then the octave. From then it keeps going on to like a flat 9, a 9 chord. We don't call this a 10 because it's just the major or the minor. 1 3 5, so it remains the concept of a 3, major or minor, but absolutely this is an 11, and then we have our 13 as being the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, you guessed it. The relative minor of C major has all the same notes as C major. When we have C major and A minor, we can add a C major over the top of an A to get a balanced chord of A minor 7. See how that works with the triad meeting a triad? So what we'll talk about is the major chords, the minor chords, the diminished chords, and then the augmented chords. Those concepts with the majors, minors, with these intervals, 1 to 5, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 7, 1, 7, are concepts we talk about called intervals. They make up what our scales are. A major scale is a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. The only 2 naturally occurring half steps are right here inside the piano as well. They just don't have the black key. So between E and F and B and C. But you can have half steps everywhere else. But the only ones that naturally occur are here, therefore they have to be accounted for in the other scales, like G major with 1 sharp, G, A, B under, C, D, E, F sharp, G. If you start any scale with your thumb, and then you end anywhere but your pinky, you have missed the purpose of all white keys have 1, 2, 3 under, right? Except for F, it goes to the 4th finger, then under to the C, D, E, and then to the F. Same thing with back down. We cross over with the 4th digit and then come back down and land on our thumb. Other than that, all of the white keys have a 3 note then under. We could talk about the black keys, but it's a little much if need. Here's the point where you would Google it. The intervals and the consonant versus dissonance. This is a dissonance. This is a dissonance. This is a dissonance. They don't naturally occur with this closed chord. An open chord does not have the note that it needs within the chord. Thusly, it makes an interval. If I move this C down to an E, it would fundamentally change the C major to having an E in the bass. Thusly, this becomes an interval. Any chord that has the major with the 3 in the bass becomes an inversion. This is a first inversion. This is a second inversion. Back to the first. We only have third inversions when we include the 7th of a chord. If this is over the top of the head, that's quite all right. But the consonant is, you can Google all these concepts and see that we have different types of inversions. So the note values, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. When we cover 4 beats, it's generally considered a whole note because it lasts 4 beats in a measure. Thusly, when we change that into 2 beats in a measure, we get half notes. And then we give it 1 beat per measure, we're getting quarter notes. There are 4 quarters inside of a whole note, meaning we have 1, 2, 3, 4, quack, 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 quack. No matter what you're doing, that is called meter. That is not meter. It is not tied together by some sort of time signature form, unless you're Zappa or Zubin-Mehndorff. But other than that, no, look those up if you want. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about time signatures. If we had 4/4, I envision a box. So if I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, some people see a circle and just go around it with a circle. Meaning, if this is a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, churn the butter, making time, something like that. I don't know. Or if you have natural rhythm, just work on that. I like tapping my toe, and then when I get done doing this, I just tap my toe inside of my foot. It really has helped over the last 10 years to get it from going like this and nervous energy down to just like getting a good musical tap going on. So the concept behind this is when we have time signatures, we understand that when we have notes that go past a half note and then into a quarter, we can take those notes and tie them together. That's called beaming. If we take 2 quarter notes, beam them together, it becomes an eighth note. So a quarter note would sound like this, and then an eighth note would have 2 quarter notes in the space of one of those. La 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 la. So in the event that you see eighth notes and you hear this over the top, no matter what that other signature is going to be a 16th note, because we have 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E. It kind of depends on what your original meter of the whole note was and the quarters. You know what I mean? But along that line, the beam notes you could Google and find out. It goes up so far, 32nd notes, 64th notes. It's kind of really ridiculously impossible to think about playing something here like that just goes faster than a 32nd note. But you know, some people can. This is possible. Try drums for that idea. Okay, we have covered the triads and the 7th chords. I would express finding a song that moves with those. Find something that just is a perfect 5th. Go up to the G, and remember you can play that. The D minor, because it's in the key of C major, sounds great. And then throw in your 7s. Try and see where those fall upon for each chord in each key. And then when you find yourself finding the struggle, you can realize that maybe you should change your fingering to something a little bit different. What we do is we change those inversions and try to feel them all over the piano so the notes make sense. Other than that, what we have covered right now, it gets a little technical, so I'm going to probably leave it there for you to Google the next couple concepts. But inversions, after they go from here, we can write that a certain way. I'm not going to get into the explanation of how we write that, but if I were to take this kind of mechanism and put these notes, I would see what time signature we have up here in the first measure. I would see that there is none, and that the time and the meter and the key signature tell me that we are in 4/4 and that there are no sharps and flats, so it is in the key of C major. Thusly, then reading these stacked chords, I realized that it has just 1 meter. Chords, 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 chords. I look at all these meters to see if there's any type of thing that is reoccurring and repeating, and then I mark them in my mind. In the beginning, get a pencil and write down with any piece of paper and any piece of music you try and do, and be as simple as possible. If you need another idea and explanation on this, try going to the internet and Googling the concept of how to write basic chord patterns. If you know C major has no sharps and no flats, you can work with that because it does not involve your black keys. However, if you want to try something cool, try B major. It has all the black keys: B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. This is a wonderful key to get into right next to C major, so you can try the same thing. And go, oh, that doesn't sound so good. And what did I do? I went a 3 to a major 3, so here's my 3. No? Cool. Oh, that's what's wrong. And you'll check your signatures to see that you have your left hand performing what your right hand is doing while you're trying to think of 2 different keys at once. You also would do that in the key of D major, E major, F major, G major, until you have a basic concept of one idea. Flat 3 to a 3 is a cool bebop Dorian sound. You can play with a lot of stuff with those. Remember, when you're moving through these ideas, you're going to be moving through these diatonic chords. Every chord that has 7 notes, as we aforementioned, has a diatonic scale. If we pick the key of F, it has 1 flat, B flat. So we would have F major, G minor, A minor, B flat major. This is one of the only keys, besides the other one, that has a black note to a white note. The next one is B to F sharp. These are the only 2. So when you place your 1 and 5, you get to decide where your major is, and you get to decide where your minor is. So for all of these, practice that thus far, and you're going to get to the point where you see intervals and chords work together. Any music that you're working on, I would suggest trying to put it through the eyes of breaking it down to its simple meter, and then try to do it on one hand, and then try to do it on the other. That thusly would catch us up to date. I would try your C major scales, and then move directly into your G major scales, D major scales, A major, E major. What we'd be doing is we'd be following that original circle of fifths. I hope this video helps out a lot. If you have any questions, always comment in the comment section and I will get back to you. Aloha.